I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar. Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
You're the worst president America has ever had.
You graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Joe.
That's extraordinary. It's extraordinary to think that 73 million people were watching that and hoping to get some answers about which way they should vote come November.
It's Tuesday, the 29th of September, 2020, and Donald Trump is about to face off against his Democratic rival, Joe Biden. The debate takes place in Cleveland, Ohio, with just 5 weeks left until Election Day, and Donald Trump is trailing in the polls. There are accusations that he's mishandled the coronavirus pandemic, which up to this point has cost the lives of more than 200,000 Americans.
I held a rally in March.
I don't know. Did I hold a rally? I'm sorry, I hold a rally. Did I hold a rally?
The threat of the virus looms over this event. It takes place without a public audience, just family members and campaign staff. There are no handshakes, and the podiums are staged a safe distance apart.
Why should the American people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this public health crisis going forward? In this case, the question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes uninterrupted.
The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis was. He knew it was a deadly disease. What did he do? You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap and get in your golf course and go in the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
If we would have listened to you, the country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000, and one person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. You didn't think we should have closed our country because you thought it was terrible. You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months.
I think covering the 2020 election was different to previous campaigns for lots of reasons. Of course, COVID was in the air.
And you think the enthusiasm is still there?
Oh, it definitely is. Definitely.
It was all very unusual in how we had to work, how we had to interact, while this huge story was also going on around us.
I just want to get Trump out of office.
Simple as that.
Yep.
Whether people liked what he was doing or loathed what he was doing, no one was on the fence about Donald Trump when it came to the election in 2020.
We got the gowns, we got the masks, we made the ventilators. You wouldn't have made ventilators, and now we're weeks away from a vaccine. They're going to be delivering the vaccine.
This is the same man
who
all
told
set
you
up. By Easter this would be gone away. By the warm weather it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm and that would take care of it. This is the same man.
That was said sarcastically, and you know that.
I think there was a definite sense in the campaign and in the debates that Trump saw the potential for the pandemic to be an existential threat to his presidency. The suggestion that he downplayed the risks of COVID.
Coronavirus, right? Kung flu, yeah. It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle. It will disappear. Looks like by April, in theory, when it gets a little warmer, it miraculously goes away. I hope that's true.
For Biden, there was an opportunity because if the more Trump suffered in the polls, the more Biden would profit from that.
I know how to do the job. I know how to get the job
Well, you
done.
didn't do very well in swine flu. H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was no economic recession.
Sir, you made a
there was no recession.
You made a point. Let him answer.
And there was we didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he shut down.
As much as COVID was a backdrop to the whole election, so of course was the issue of racial justice and the killing of George Floyd and the anger that provoked around the country. It was an issue that both candidates had to face up to.
And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America. But we've never accomplished it. But we've never walked away from it like he has done. This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred.
You have treated the African American population community, you have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did the 1990, and that's why, if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that.
There was a moment in the first debate where Donald Trump was asked to condemn white supremacists, and he managed not to do that.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared
to do
specifically
that, but
do it?
Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing. What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists
Who
and
would
right
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right-wing
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by, but I'll tell you what.
By suggesting they should stand back and stand by, what many people saw as a call to arms for white supremacists, which was an extraordinary moment in a country going through what it was going through at the time.
So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me.
I think Trump, in everything in his presidency, worked on instinct. I don't think there was much preparation for this debate.
Folks,
absolutely
folks, do you have any idea what this clown's doing?
They call it
Do you have any idea?
Trump likes to believe that he can think on his feet and get out of any scrape, but he also wants to have the last word.
Well,
Vice President,
can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
He stood up.
No,
he stood up,
the answer to
and
the
he
question is no.
threatened Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion, if you
That
don't get rid of
is
the press.
you know what, you're-
absolutely not
stop.
true.
You're doing it.
You're going to
Not
have
true.
Gentlemen,
It tells you a lot, doesn't it, about this kind of playground atmosphere and the teacher there, Chris Wallace, trying to keep control of these two toddlers talking over each other.
the country would be better served if we allowed both people to speak with fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
Well, and him too.
Well, frankly, you've been doing more interrupting
Well, that's
than
all
he
right,
has.
but he does plenty.
Not surprisingly, when you looked at the views that the American people had, having sat through that, it was largely negative.
Disappointed.
Crazy. Comical.
Train wreck. Horrible.
Thank you, and good night.
In the hours that followed, a poll of debate watchers found that Joe Biden had won the first debate. This wasn't good news for President Trump, who needed a strong performance to reshape the presidential race. Days later, Trump announced that he and the First Lady had contracted COVID-19. As a result, the second presidential debate in Florida was called off.
You know, it's a little tough, and you have a temperature, and you don't feel good. And then the scarier part is, where's it going?
The final debate took place in Nashville, Tennessee, less than 2 weeks before Election Day. And in this debate, a microphone mute button was introduced to stop the candidates from interrupting each other.
Well, the second debate was much better than the first. Unusually for an American presidential debate, they got into some real substance, a discussion about environmental justice, for example.
I do love the environment, but what I want is the cleanest, crystal clear water, the cleanest air.
We're going to pass the point of no return within the next 8 to 10 years. 4 more years of this man eliminating all the regulations that were put in by us will put us in a position where we're going to be in real trouble.
Look at China, how filthy it is. Look at Russia. Look at India. It's filthy. The air is filthy. The Paris Accord, I took us out because we were going to have to spend trillions of dollars, and we were treated very unfairly. When they put us in there, they did us a great disservice. They were going to take away our businesses.
And then into that, you have these really significant political global issues.
Vice President Biden, you've said you wouldn't meet with Kim Jong-un without preconditions. Are there any conditions under which you would meet with him?
On the condition that he would agree that he would be drawing down his nuclear capacity to get that the Korean Peninsula should be a nuclear-free zone.
All right, let's move on to American families.
Kristen, they tried
Very
to
quickly,
meet with
10
him.
seconds, President.
They tried to meet with him. He wouldn't do it. He didn't like Obama. He didn't like him. He wouldn't do it.
Okay, I
know
got to
for a
give him a
fact they
chance to
tried.
respond to that
He
before we
wouldn't
move
do
on.
it.
You
And
know,
that's
I-
okay. You know what? North Korea, we're not in a war. We have a good relationship. You know, people don't understand. Having a good
President
relationship
Trump,
with
we have
leaders
to move
of other
on, 'cause
countries
we have
is
a lot
a
of
good thing.
We have a lot of questions to get
Yes,
to.
not
That's
Your
like
response.
saying we had a good relationship with Hitler before he, in fact, invaded Europe, the rest of Europe. Come on.
It was clear that the Democrat Party felt that Joe Biden was the man who could beat Donald Trump.
If you're a middle-class family, you're getting hurt badly right now. You're sitting at the kitchen table this morning deciding, well, we can't get new tires, they're bald because we have to wait another month or so. Or are we going to be able to pay the mortgage? Or who's going to tell her she can't go back to community college? They're the decisions you're making in the middle-class families like I grew up in Scranton and Claymont.
He'd come from a working-class area in the northeast of the United States. He had that heritage. He would win in those Rust Belt states, they felt. Whatever doubts people may have had about his age, for example.
And then he looks, the family, around the table, everything. Just a typical politician when I see that.
Let's talk.
But Biden went into these debates ahead in the polls, ahead in the fundraising, with a much better chance of winning that election, whatever happened on the debate stage. I certainly think Trump didn't do himself any favors. With the undecided voters, there will always be those who love Donald Trump and will vote for him, whatever. But in terms of the undecided voters, I don't think anything there would have won him votes. And when you look at what happened in November, that was pretty much borne out in the election result.
Let this grim era of demonization in America begin to end here and now.
Certainly, the handling of the pandemic by Trump was a major factor in the whole election campaign and in those debates. And Biden's decision to look like the grown-up, following the scientific advice, rightly or wrongly, certainly had an impact on how that election turned out.